Welcome to a new season of Conflict Coach with Dr. Emily Taylor. I'm a mediator, developmental psychologist, conflict resolution teacher, and mom of 5. And just like you, I've had my fair share of conflict. Over time, I've realized conflict isn't something to fear. It's simply part of life. What matters is how we respond, and if we have the tools to handle it with confidence and care. And that's what this podcast is all about. In each episode, you'll hear me coach someone through a real conflict they're facing. You'll listen as they share their story, and I'll guide them towards solutions that align with their goals and values. Along the way, I'll point out skills and strategies you can use in your own life, whether at work, at home, or in your other relationships. So whether you've been with us since season 1 or you're brand new, welcome. I'm glad you're here. Let's jump in. Today I'm coaching Stacie. And before we get started, I just want to let you know that we're going to be discussing suicide loss. So please take care of yourself as you're listening, and know that the National Suicide and Crisis Lifeline is available 24/7 if you need someone to talk to. You can dial 988 to talk with someone. So Stacie's sister recently died by suicide, and she's now estranged from her sister's husband and son. This rupture is causing Stacie a lot of pain, but she's not sure how to address the root of the conflict. So we're going to explore her options. Stacie, welcome to the show. Thank you so much for being here.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I'm excited and a little bit nervous to do this today.
So you've come here with a conflict. I know a little bit about it, but could you tell us what's been going on? What's brought you here to talk about a conflict?
So my sister committed suicide. And that's been really hard to come to terms with. She died 12 days after getting out of a mental health facility. And I've had a lot of conflict with her husband and one son. And I've just chose to not have contact with them anymore.
I'm so sorry that you're going through that. Was there conflict with the husband beforehand?
Prior to that time, there wasn't really until about a week before she passed away. I had some conflict with her son, her youngest son, and her husband. I went over to check on her one morning, and her son was laying on the couch, and his dogs were barking at me. So I had an envelope in my hand because I just pulled her mail out of the mailbox, and I swatted it at the dog because it was barking at me, and he leapt off the couch and said, "Don't you ever bleep my dogs again." And I was just kind of surprised because I didn't do anything horrible. I didn't kick the dog or anything like that. And because his dad was sitting there listening to him speak to me that way, I was really kind of surprised. And so then I just was like, okay, I'm done with you guys. I will move on to helping my sister.
Okay.
And it was 12 o'clock and they hadn't gotten her up, and she was still laying in bed, and, she had just gotten out of this care facility. So I just went in and started trying to help her and getting her up and trying to see what I could do to help. And every suggestion I made was not the right one. I was there for almost 3 hours, just talking to her, trying to help her, give her ideas about things that she could do. And everything was just no, no, no. And then her son came in and got into it with me again. And I just left. And I never went back.
You never went back because you felt unwelcome, or
I didn't need to be treated that way. And I actually called her husband the next day and I said, "Hey, did you get my sister up?" And he said, "Yes, we got her up. We got her food." And I said, "Oh, okay, well, I have a question for you." And he said, "What's that?" And I said, "If your son talked to your sisters the way he spoke with me yesterday. Would you be okay with it? And he said, oh, well, probably not. And I said, why do you think it's okay for him to talk to me like that? And he just went on about how, well, there's just some people that you don't really like that much, and that you don't, you kind of implying that I hadn't treated him well, which is not true. And we just got into a big yelling match, and I hung up. We hung up, and I was just like, I don't need that. And so then I was trying to get other people to go over and check on my sister, because I didn't want to be in that environment.
Hey friends, Stacie is in a pretty tough spot here. She and her brother-in-law are both grieving. There's a lot of really painful emotion, and conflicts often start with being caught off guard, like what happened when Stacie showed up at her sister's house and her nephew was rude. She's got regrets about pulling back in the days before her sister died. And now she's unsure how to mend things with her sister's husband and son, or even if she wants to. A big thing we're going to be doing during this coaching session is exploring ways to communicate more effectively when we're in a heated conflict. So take note of the way that phone call with her brother-in-law went. We all know what it's like for a conversation to go off the rails. In a moment, I'm going to work with Stacie on a different way of having difficult conversations that can be more productive. But first, it feels like we haven't really gotten to what's at the heart of this conflict for Stacie, and that's the first, maybe the most important skill in any conflict situation. Whether we're going through the conflict ourselves or supporting someone else in conflict, we need to listen long enough to identify the core needs of everyone involved. So let's get back to Stacie and see if we can discover what she needs in this conflict with her brother-in-law. You mentioned there was kind of like a yelling match at the end, and then you just hung up the phone.
Yeah.
Have you experienced that with him before?
No. No, I've never had any conversations with him like that. I see a lot of things now that I didn't really realize before my sister passed away.
Do you mind telling me what you mean by that?
I really, truly, and I know people throw this term around a lot, but he truly is a narcissist. And I say that because he only cares about himself. He really does. I know when my sister was in the care facility, she asked me specifically to talk to him about some things that she needed or she needed him to do. And I was very polite, just like we're talking right now, telling him that these are the things that she needed. And when I talked to her again, I said, I talked to him. Do you need me to talk to him again? And she said, no, he felt personally attacked. Instead of taking responsibility for those things that she said she really needed, he just felt personally attacked.
Okay, so you've been in the middle of trying to help your sister, trying to help her get her needs met.
Mm-hmm.
And seems like there was a lack of responsiveness. So there's something I was thinking about too as you're talking is sometimes we have like the immediate incident, like that escalates the issue, right? And you're like not in contact anymore. But there were things leading up to it. So it sounds like your love and care for your sister was behind, somewhat this reaction, even though you were treated rudely. Yeah. Is it more about how he treats your sister?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, she was the one who carried that family financially for over 15 years. While he went to work every day but didn't bring home a paycheck. And I think she's just at her tipping point, obviously. And I know she'd had the conversation with him multiple times before. And I don't know what those conversations were, but I think things would get better for a minute and then they would just, go back to how they were.
Okay. And it sounds like in terms of like if we just talk about this confrontation, obviously we've unpacked a lot of things around this conversation you had with your brother-in-law. Do you want to have a relationship with your brother-in-law and his son?
No. Both me and my brother have both said we never want to speak with them again, ever. Well, I take that back.
Okay.
We both want to tell him what we believe are our truths, how he treated our sister. But my nephew has asked us not to because he's still the one that's stuck in the middle, I guess you should say, because it's my sister's son. And he actually is her son from her first marriage.
Okay. Just to clarify. So there's the son that was rude to you. Is there another son from a different marriage?
Yes, her son from a different marriage.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay. And you want to have a relationship with that son from the different marriage?
Yes.
Okay, friends, it took some time to unravel Stacie's main concerns because she's had so many difficult things happen in a short amount of time. If you've had several challenges with different people packed together, you're probably going to need some time to pare down your chief concerns. Instead of going with the most recent challenge or the challenge that makes sense to everyone else, be patient in the unraveling process. That means you'll need to do some quiet reflecting, talking with a trusted friend, some writing, which will take some time. Be careful not to be too hasty in moving through grief. Stacie and I kept talking through things until we identified the chief concern. And just so you know, it took a lot longer than you're actually hearing here. You're getting the highlights. Second, I hope you noticed that once Stacie identified this chief concern to preserve a relationship with her sister's son from her sister's first marriage, she had the motivation to even reconsider engaging with her brother-in-law. What had once been a definite never turned into a possibility. In short, you've got to find your why to engage in a situation like this. Next, we need to figure out how Stacie might be able to have that kind of conversation with her brother-in-law that would allow her to have a relationship with her nephew. Let's get back to the session. Do you mind? We're going to do something a little funky,
Sure.
but I think it might be helpful.
Okay.
Using a pattern of I've observed this is from nonviolent communication. So there's 4 steps of expressing a need. The first is to make an observation, and you bring up what happened without any judgment. Then we bring up a personal feeling of ours, not about the other person, about us. Like, I am heartbroken right now that my sister is gone. And then a personal need, and then making a personal request. Does that make sense? So those 4 steps, I wondered if we could just practice them with each other as if you're with, can we give your brother-in-law a name? What can we call him?
His name's Joe.
Okay, so Joe. We're just practicing, but what's one thing, like a concrete thing that we could bring up with Joe? Like that you would like to see changed with what's going on right now? Is it that treatment of that son, or is it? Okay, so if we're going to do that, so the first step is always like a scientist. Like there's things we could observe that they're doing. If they're treating him poorly, what are they actually doing? If I was watching from above, kind of watching them treat him poorly, what are they doing?
They're treating him poorly because he has a relationship with me. They follow him around the house as if to make sure he's not stealing things.
Okay.
They promised him a wedding present, but haven't given it to him yet.
Okay.
I mean, these are only the things that I know of. I'm sure there's more.
Okay. If we flipped it to a thing that you want them to do instead, what would it be? So not just stop doing this, but I want you to do this. Can you think of anything how you would want them to treat him?
I would want them to treat him as if, I should say as if Lori were still here, because that's how she would want it. But, I mean,
this is the trickiest part.
Yeah.
Because I get it, right? Like you're wanting them to treat him well.
yeah.
The evidences are the things that we really need to hone in on. What's something you think's actually doable for them to do? I can see your skepticism, but is there anything like...
Honestly, I can't really think of anything because just knowing the type of people that they are, there's just...
Okay, so there's a lot of doubt.
Yeah.
A lot of doubt about their capacity. Okay, which is super common in conflicts like this, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so let's just start. I'm Joe.
Mm-hmm.
You're bringing up something that you hope I'll do. How would you begin that conversation?
Hey, Joe.
Yeah.
I recognize that we didn't have the best of last conversations.
Yeah, you're right.
And that there could have been some things said that maybe shouldn't have, or...
Okay.
Yeah, it was just rough.
Right? So you call it what it is.
Mm-hmm.
And then sometimes it's just like, why are you talking to me now? Right? Like you've opened up your voice and maybe that person's like, oh, is she going to yell at me again? Right? Like, so someone's going to be defensive.
Mm-hmm.
But then just saying, I'm coming to you because I really care about the name of, what can we call, what's his name?
Dylan.
Mm-hmm. I'm really concerned about Dylan. And then very concrete things. Like what would those actually be? Could we practice that conversation?
Sure.
Starting again from the beginning. I'm Joe. I'm sitting here. I'm feeling defensive. And I'm like, oh,
I don't want to talk.
Oh, the mean girl's here, right? Okay.
Yep. Hey, Joe. I realized that we didn't leave off on the best of terms the last time we spoke.
That's for sure.
I'm just really concerned about Dylan and want to help him process his grief. I know I'm still grieving Lori, and I just want to make sure that I'm doing everything that I can to make sure that he's going to be okay.
So you think I'm not taking care of him? Or did someone talk to you about this?
Well, it's just some things that I've observed and
what do you mean? Observed? Like, is somebody talking about me?
I've just heard some things, and I just want to get the answers from you so that I know that I'm not just taking things out of context.
I don't know. Last time, I don't even know if we can talk about this. I just put up a little bit of defense, but you just saying, "Hey, we're talking right now. I think we can do this. Would you be willing to talk about it right now? Just ways we could so there's like the 4 steps, and there's some assurance." And you are keeping your voice calm. This is obviously a role play, but that's allowing me to let down my defenses as I see you just staying the course, right? This last part, let's get this one. The request. Make it concrete and positive and something tangible. Like, hey, when is a good time?
All right.
It doesn't have to be perfect and you can tweak it,
Yeah.
but how would you ask me for that conversation?
Would you be willing to get together with me sometime so that we can talk about things that we can do to help Dylan?
Just add in instead of the sometime. Give me a frame. Give me a frame.
Within the next week, could you get together with me to talk about it?
Maybe if I can, if your brother's there, I might feel more comfortable. Would that be okay?
Yeah.
Okay. What do you think? Can you imagine doing this?
At this moment, honestly, going through that, it all sounds good. But then I think about really doing it. It gives me anxiety.
Right?
Because I have been so set against never talking to them again that now, opening up this conversation that way, I'm like, maybe the door's been cracked a little bit,
yeah. But so this is not meant to be trite.
Yeah.
But I remember someone saying that when you're going through turbulence, instead of always going fast, it's okay to go slow. So say today is just the thought exercise of, you know what? I said never, but maybe there's a certain condition because of my love of my sister. Maybe I'd be willing to do that. But I got to make sure that I feel safe and that it really, like, I'm not just going to put myself in another bad situation, right? If you like, you don't want to make yourself feel unduly vulnerable, but there may be a situation where it's worth it. This sounds weird, but I've talked about this in other shows, but I actually write out some of the things I want to say. If it's that important, I don't want to wing it because I may get nervous, and when I'm nervous, it may be more possible to be reactive and to get angry faster. So I actually, again, it sounds weird. We were just rehearsing, what that conversation would be like, maybe with a trusted person like a brother or your spouse that you feel comfortable with. You just practice saying it. So you're not worried about the words. You're actually just worried. You're just focused on the feeling of that moment. And you may get, you pick up the phone and it's like, you can tell he's not having any of it. You may just decide, I've prepared this conversation, but I don't think it's the right thing right now. And that's totally fine. Any thoughts that you have kind of as we're thinking about that? And
yeah, I'm just kind of sitting here going, wow, I didn't even honestly consider anything like that or that it could be even possible. So
you have some things to think about.
Yeah, I definitely have things to think about. I appreciate you walking through those steps with me and giving me some guidance that way that I can really just ponder on and hopefully someday in the future have that conversation for my sister.
Thanks so much, Stacie.
Yeah.
It's been an honor, and I appreciate you being willing to open up about really hard things.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Okay, friends, I am truly grateful to Stacie for helping us think through some important skills in conflict. So just to review quickly, the first thing I want you to remember from today's session is the importance of understanding your why in a conflict. It took us some time to get to Stacie's core need, which was to have a relationship with her sister's son, and through that to mend some of the heartache she feels over losing her sister. It's important not to try and rush through grief or settle into our emotions too quickly. Taking time to reflect, talking with loved ones, and exploring your emotions are important steps to understand what your core needs are, and they all take time. Second is the structure of nonviolent communication. It involves making an observation and bringing it up without judgment. Stacie did this wonderfully and calmly during our role play. Second, you need to bring up a personal feeling. This feeling is not about the other person, nor does it place blame on them. Third, you bring up a personal need, something that would be helpful for your continued healing. Fourth, and finally, you make a specific request. And specific is important because we want the other person to be able to say yes with confidence, to know that they can be successful in what they agree to do or say. And finally, remember the power of role-playing. It's always awkward, but it almost always cracks the door open to new possibilities. It's a great way to plan what you'll say, practice nonviolent communication, and further explore your feelings. Stacie made great progress during our role play today, and you can have great success with it too. Thanks for joining me today. If there's someone in your life who might benefit from listening to this episode, please share it. Because as I always say, it's not a question of if, but when we're going to experience conflict, and we do much better when we're prepared. The Conflict Coach with Dr. Emily Taylor is a BYU radio podcast. I'd love to connect with you on social media. Find me on Facebook and Instagram at Conflict Coach with Dr. Emily, where I'm sharing more ideas for working through conflict. And if you or someone you know has a conflict that you'd like to discuss on the podcast, send me an email to conflictcoach@byu.edu. And next time, I'll be coaching someone who is learning to self-advocate in the workplace. I hope you'll join me.